G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here, and I got a song for the Inmendamites. Inmendam blocks over the ocean, Inmendam blocks over the sea, Inmendam blocks people who know stuff, and that's why Inmendam blocked me. That's right, I've been blocked by Gary again. He's hit the losers button. He's lost the argument. Yesterday, Gary put up a movie called Warbles Jaw Drop a Lot. It went for 33 minutes, and at the 3-minute mark, Gary stated clearly, unequivocally, unmistakably, that there's no point putting a streamlined solar panel on your car, and a better idea would be to put a windmill on the car so that you can get some free energy by turning the passing slipstream into electricity and charge your battery that way. Okay, well, I have been a wind turbinologist in my time, as well as a low-speed aerodynamics consultant, before I finally turned to solar panels because the windmill just wasn't running my lifestyle. I mean, there's a history behind why I wanted to streamline solar panels. It's because I like aerofoils. I understand air moving over shapes. It's what I'm good at. So the idea of putting a windmill on a car just cracked me up. Made me laugh so hard I had to make a movie called Absolute Bullshit Content, Inmendam versus Sunfoils. And I woke up this morning to find that when I went to answer a comment to me on one of Gary's clips, user blocked. Not there anymore. So I went and had a little bit of a look on my subscription list, and Gary's not there either. So YouTube's policy now seems to be that if you block somebody and they were subscribed to you, then their subscription is undone. Okay, so if I want to look at Gary, I've got to make the effort of searching at Inmendam. And he knows I probably won't. I can't be bothered chasing him down to hit him with a stick because he's, gone hiding in his burrow. But yeah, Inmendam blocks people who know stuff, and he's blocked me because I'm right and he's wrong, and he made a thundering fool of himself. Such a absolute crackerjack dingbat did he make of himself that he's taken down all of his movies which had my name in the title. Right? Gary is retreated behind his white flag to lick his wounds. The blocking button is a loser's device. It's what you do when you know you've fucked the goose and been caught doing it in public. Now, I've spent a bit of time wondering why it is that Gary particularly wants to pour buckets of dung on what I've achieved. And I may be completely wrong here. It's possible that he really is as dumb as he makes out. That idea of his of putting a windmill on a car, that greatly reinforces the idea that he's as dumb as he makes out. But I was used to thinking Gary was pretty smart. He's quite a talented talker. He can certainly excoriate anybody that he feels like tearing strips off. But Gary's an antinatalist, a life backwardsist, an effalist. And I have children. I have bread. I do not feel ashamed of having bread. And Gary hates people who've had kids. He doesn't like breeders. And I think it's important to him to try and establish that breeders are not capable of doing anything good. And here I am, giving away my best work, giving the Sunfoils to the world in the same way that I gave the Lockout Index to the world because it was a good idea and I couldn't see any way to make money out of it, but it needed to be shared anyway. So what am I trying to achieve with the Sunfoils? I want to reduce global warming gas emissions from the road transport fleet. Now, if it saves 10% of fuel burn, it shuts down 10% of emissions. If it saves 25, 30%, that's how much emissions it shuts down. In my situation, 5.3 litres a week is a whopping 30% of my 15 litre a week previous fuel burn. Because the whole idea of the Sunfoil is to save the fuel which would otherwise be burnt upon startup to recharge the battery for the time spent parked with the static onboard systems draining the battery. They only drain a little bit, but they drain it for a long time, and it all adds up. So the major saving from putting a Sunfoil is so you don't have to kiss and make up to the battery for the time spent in the car park. If you've got an air conditioning system in your car, then another way you're going to save fuel is that the Sunfoil is going to block half a kilowatt maybe of sunlight from hitting the cabin roof. Mine blocks 480 watts. Air conditioning systems are not 100% efficient. So if your air conditioning system's 20% efficient, which I doubt, it's probably closer to 10, but if it's 20% efficient, then blocking 480 watts of sunlight from hitting the cabin in the first place, that might save 2 horsepower feeding the air conditioning systems to fight with that half a kilowatt worth of solar heat. Another way that the Sunfoil is going to save fuel is when you're driving up the road and you are running electrical systems. Fuel pump, ignition, if it's a spark ignited car, radio, air conditioner's cooling fan perhaps. That little bit of current which the solar panel feeds into the battery replaces just that much current that would otherwise come from the alternator. And in my car, I think I worked it out at being 310 mils of fuel per hour, which the solar panel provides to the spark plugs and the fuel pump. It's not much. It is not much. It's a small fraction. And if you're the sort of person who drives the car 10 hours a day, and the solar panel saves 310 mils per hour, well, that's 3 litres a day that you're not feeding the spark plugs via the alternator and the belt, right? So it's an absolute no-brainer. You can put a solar panel on the car without greatly increasing the drag. There are many different ways that having it up there is going to be an improvement. The idea of putting a windmill on a car is just totally delusional. Literally fairyland stuff. And I've exposed Gary as being full of fairyland stuff. He doesn't like it, so he's blocked me. He's stopped me from seeing his movies in my feed. Stopped me from commenting on his movies. And he's run away to lick his wounds. So, there you go. In Mendham, lost to Warbles on a lot. Victory, hurrah! And if you say it in German, Sieg Heil! But Warbles on a lot just kicked Gary's ass so hard that Gary backed off and fucked off and run away and went home. He gave up. He knew he was beaten and he couldn't even acknowledge it. He couldn't even acknowledge it. One of the really funny things is that there are people out there who say that I've got my head up my armpit on the subject of drive belt losses. There are people who honestly believe that a V-belt is 95 to 98% efficient at transferring energy. And I don't know about that. Maybe they're talking relative efficiency? Because my understanding is that in terms of absolute efficiency, a V-belt, 60% efficient at 1-to-1, 75% efficient as a reduction drive, 50% efficient as a step-up ratio. And that's how it runs in a car. There's friction and there's slippage and there's the belt heating up, and they actually put fins on the back of the belt to try and get rid of some of that. You know, like the cooling fins on a fan belt mean that there is in fact a heat problem to be dealt with. But if I'm 100% wrong about the belt, if I only have to put 4 horsepower into my drive belt to get 1 horsepower of electricity out of my alternator, I'm still in front by having a solar panel on the roof. And my firm belief is that the people who think a rubber drive belt is 98% efficient have never actually had to depend on it. They've never, like, flown an aeroplane with a rubber drive belt. Well, I have. I've also flown an aeroplane with a bicycle chain drive. And I know that you can't rely on a belt to transfer 100% of the power. I'm very conservative in my estimates. I regard my engine as 25% efficient, turning fuel into torque. The alternator's 50% efficient, turning torque into electricity. And the belt is 50% efficient in step up. And it's running the alternator twice as fast as the crankshaft. And it loses half the power it delivers. So, okay, there's room for argument there. If I'm 100% wrong on the fan belt, then my car's going to save 2.5 litres electrically. Where does the other 2.5 litres a week saving come from? Have I done something absolutely magical aerodynamically that I don't understand? Or am I just, as near as damn it is to swearing, right about the fan belt? And I think that's what I am. I think I'm right about the fan belt. I think I'm right about the engine. I think I'm right about the battery. I think I have no reason to lie to myself writing the fuel log down. 11 years ago when I bought the car, when I started the fuel log, I'd never even thought about putting the solar panel on the roof. Was I deliberately fudging the figures back then? No, Occam's razor. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a hillbilly who's spotted an obvious mistake in motor car design. And it's been an obvious mistake since 1977 when solar panels became more or less commercially available in the shops. But anyway, Gary, I'm sorry that you've backed off and run away and given up. I was sort of enjoying the little interplane exchange, and like a lot of my subscribers, I thought you must be trolling. I thought it was a benevolent bit of trolling. I thought you were merely trying to have your little weekly feast of hysterical drama queen activity on my channel, as you've done several times before. And it was going to increase the exposure to sunfoils. But no, the way you've backed off and run away, you were genuine. You were fair dinkum. You really don't understand sunfoils, and you thought you were going to hit me over the head with your allegedly superior intellectual prowess and get me to, I don't know, chop up the bloody fairing with an axe and burn it in the fireplace and take the sunfoil off me car and go back to being normal. Normal. A sheeple. Well, no, mate, I'm not a sheeple. I'm not normal, I'm abnormal. I understand that, I'm not afraid of it. Unlike you, I don't shy away from me psychopathology either. You want to pretend that being a nut doesn't affect your opinions. I know being a nut affects my opinions, but I'm aware of it. And I run a self-monitoring program. And when I catch myself about to project, I stop myself. So I don't tell the world that they are miserably depressed and that their life isn't worth living. Oh no, I look at myself and say, well, am I depressed? Is my life worth living? And my life is worth living. I'm pretty happy with it. I have a lot of fun and I do a bit of good. I don't do much harm. Can you say that? I don't think you can you? In Mendham blocks over the ocean, in Mendham blocks over the sea, in Mendham blocks people who know stuff, and that's why in Mendham's blocked me. Ciao.